Hi, how you doing? How's it going? It's been an interesting day, hasn't it? New president in the US. That's very exciting. Whatever you think that means or what's going to happen in the days coming, still a very exciting thing to have a new president. Hi. Hi, Morgan. My pronouns are they and them, and this is my channel, Tempest Games, where I do world building and ttrpg and board game design. What's good? I'm kind of happy because this time of year in the UK is when it gets just cold enough to actually pull out all the winter things. And I have some nice jumpers specifically for the coldest time of year. Although unfortunately in my study with all my lights on, it's probably not the best environment for it. But I was so happy about being able to wear my jumper or having my jumpers out to wear that I'm now sat here with the fan on and the sleeves rolled up because I'm too stubborn to change. Also part of my favorite winter kit, this is funny, is now this is what's really good, is my cashmere socks. I love these things. My feet get cold really easily. And so in January and February, I depend very much on these cashmere socks. They sound expensive. They're not. They're, well, I suppose they're not if you buy them from that place like I do, from the place where you get all the things. I really need to find, I suppose now in the more woke world that we live in, it's back to the era of a store for everything. At least we don't have to drive to it anymore. That's nice. I can't, like, my brain wants to calculate how many hours I used to spend driving between stores on errand days, and it's just ridiculous. It's one thing I'm kind of glad for in our current don't leave your home situation that we're in, that shopping online is more prevalent, and that means that more things are going to be available and the websites are better, and there's been a lot of strides forward in the last year as far as the Internet of Things goes, and that's a really nice thing. Yeah. So, today we're going to be working on life in the world of Kinde. That's our section. Kind of an enigma of a term. But we're gonna figure that out. We're gonna work that out. Yeah. Unfortunately, I need a quick break, but I will be right back. Don't move. Sorry about that. I feel like today's the kind of day where if it could have gone wrong, it has gone wrong in some way. Very exciting. You notice that my chair is behind me instead of under me. And that's because the foot broke off, and the bit of plywood where the socket to screw in the foot is, the plywood completely split apart, so that's useless. That was a waste of 80 quid. And I'm sat on the stool that I had before that, which made my bum hurt, which I now use to cut people's hair. Yeah, I'm not relishing having to buy a new piece of furniture, but I'm not going to cheap out this time. I know 80 quid doesn't sound like it's sort of cheaping out, but it is, apparently. Very frustrating. I remember I was in Dunelm some months ago with a friend, and they had an armchair that I was looking at for a little while when I bought this one, and I decided to sit down in it for funsies, and instantly regretted it because it was lush. It was really nice, but it was also almost 3 times the cost of the one that I did get. So, well, I guess you get what you pay for, right? Anyway, let's get this nonsense started. Where are we? Okay. Life in the world. Now, this is a question I've been asking myself a lot lately. What constitutes as life in the world? And I know I did I looked at the sheet, my guide that is, here, let me bring it up for you, this mother. I looked at this guide a lot while trying to decide. It's kind of, I feel like this explanation is just too vague, too brief for the potential of this particular category. And the thing, because you've got life in the world and then you've got daily life. What? How are those different things? Seriously. What is the role of magic or technology in the life of most people? Are there any common professions? Are the majority of folk cosmopolitan or parochial? How is that living in your world? Consider the everyday details of your world. Every day. Currency, days of the week, months and year, easy to travel or hard, languages. Don't be too weird. I think, like I said last time, that's a bit controversial, isn't it? Yeah, I may have to. I think this is one of those things is we're going to write this bit, and then what's going to happen is after we've written the whole thing, or we get to a part that touches on a similar, that sort of overlaps, that we're going to end up going back and maybe taking some things out of this that happens. I have to go back into some of the, so we haven't actually gotten that far into it, and some of this geography stuff, I think, and maybe move things around, take some things out that are a bit redundant. But that is part of the final edit of this kind of writing. You know, we're just doing a first draft right now, so we're just writing. We're just throwing things down on the page. And not worried about how great it is. And we're doing a first draft. And then we're going to start going through and editing afterwards. And I'm going to do that on my own. I don't think that's going to make for an entertaining stream or anything. But it will be available. And I've recently had some ideas for how to publish this player's guide, and that's using Google Sites. I might try that out. I mean, I like World Anvil, but I think it's designed around a much comprehensive style of world building than I am really into or likely to do. So it feels a bit like it feels a bit over-engineered for what I'm after. But we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. I'm just doing some fiddling around and whatnot. Right. So, in our education section, we have to talk about the aptitudes, the exchanges, and apprenticeship. And it looks like we finished what we were talking about with the aptitudes, but we were addressing the exchanges. A location in every city where people meet to exchange knowledge and training. Learning is free. It's part of the First Flight's experts' contract to offer their knowledge at... See, now this is... there. towns exchanged. Likely not a specific type of building built for this, but it takes place in a community space or longhouse. People who attend are varied in age and background. Some come to every lesson they can, while others pick and choose according to the schedule. Some others only come when the subject is relevant to their profession. What I would love is to find, and maybe I'll make a note of this, find real world analogy. I need to see, this is where we get up our handy dandy thesaurus, because that just doesn't feel like the right word. Boop. No. Boop. Oh, come on. Boop. There we go. Okay. Thesaurus. Thesaurus. Oh, you know what? A better way to phrase this would be, okay, let's do analogy. Site. Thesaurus.com. Oh, really nice if it took me all the way there. Okay, comparison, correlation, metaphor, parallel? Parallel might be the better phrase. Real world parallel. Yeah, okay. Let's use that. Why is this one so far over to the right? It's making everything look sloppy. Don't like sloppy. That's all right. Okay. Find real world parallel. Plural, potentially. Because, I mean, I know there's a couple different things in the UK that might qualify for that sort of thing. Like, there's a concept called a folk house, which I quite like, which more often than not is like art and humanities. You know, in the US, I'd say community colleges do this to a level. They've taken it over in a more formal way. Certainly not free, but definitely available to all. Okay. I think maybe that's about all there is to say about the exchanges. So now we're looking at apprenticeship. So, apprenticeship existed during the occupation in a non-formal, informal way. Children of a caste learned from the respected elders, their respected elders, to do the work of their caste's work. Perhaps in parentheses, and no opportunity to move laterally. So nowadays, there is a, say, more formal idea of apprenticeship, in that to be taken on, one has to go through, take the aptitudes I mean, we're not talking about formal exams exactly. That's an interesting thing. So we've got no like real standard, no standard operating procedures, no SOPs here. Protocols. So there's been, I mean, 50 years is enough time to have developed an idea of who can broadly test for. Maybe there's actually a group of people who have come together, test by committee. Every location's methods are different. Committee is made of respected masters, not masters. Practitioners of what? General areas who studied multiple disciplines in a category. Definitely sort of the first teachers of this era. So, occupationally speaking, you've got categories like you've got woodworking, you've got masonry, you've got building, you've got what the stewards do, what the guardians do. Likely there is a sort of elder in each of those categories who has intentionally studied different, more specific things in their category so that they could then assess. That's the word I need to be using more here, is the word assess. That assesses. What is the person? Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was essentially for the purpose of assessing young people and anyone who wants to maybe switch careers or something like that. There's no age limit. Maybe that's another thing to add here. No age limits. We'll say available whenever you think you can. Form. So having age limits seems like it would be a little bit anathema to this society. You can go when you're 6, you can go when you're 8, you can go when you're 10, 12, any number in between, any number after that. The only thing is, if you go too early, and you don't have any life skills, or you haven't properly developed, chances are the assessors are going to say, sorry, you don't have any aptitudes yet. Just need to up to the person to decide if they're learned, developed enough to succeed. Now, be awarded. I'm just going to put this in brackets. Awarded, or quotation marks, with an aptitude. I hate this word. Aptitude. Not very good at spelling this word. Or the word committee. Too many double letters. Okay. Right. So as soon as you have an aptitude for something, you have the option of, where did I write this down? Certificate of professional aptitude. I'm going to put this in quotations and marks as well, so it's a little bit easier. No. A little bit easier to find. You may have discovered that you have an aptitude in something that there is an apprenticeship for, and the assessors will issue you a certificate of professional aptitude, and you take that to a master. And then that master will apprentice you. And then it has to be, taken on, one has to be awarded with a certificate of professional aptitude. I don't like the word professional here. I'm thinking maybe occupational. Maybe that's better. I'm not sure they really have the concept of professions at this point. Certainly not with the nuance that we do today. But I think using the word occupational would be more in line with how they're thinking of it would be. Yeah. Okay. Again, no age limits. Just need the certificate and physical ability. Physical and mental ability. I suppose in that case you can be rejected for infirmity. So we're talking age, illness, that sort of thing. But maybe that's the kind of thing that actually needs to be taken to adjudicators. But needs public adjudication. Oh, of course I haven't spelled that correct. How do you spell it? Oh, it's 2 Ds. Okay. I was on the right track the first time. Yeah. Is there anything special about apprenticeship in Kinde that needs to be noted that might be different in Kinde than, say, what we expect it to be? I'm not sure there is, other than that certificate, like how you enter into it. Maybe mention that it's free. So, and I suppose by free, there's also the implication that there's no indentured period of indenture. What is that word? Indenturitude? Definition indenture. Indenturing, indentured, indenture. It's just indenture. No, that's a verb. No, I suppose it is also the noun. Okay. That's fine. I feel like I've heard a word with a couple more syllables before. No period of indenture. No obligation to stay. What else? What is that medieval concept of apprenticeship? Maybe that's a thing we can look up too. Now I'll leave the source open. Apprenticeship. Medieval. Go. Apprenticeship. Many children learned the trade of their parents by informal observation and helping out with small tasks, but there were also full apprenticeships paid for by parents who were young people lived with skilled workers or masters and learned their craft. Very often a master took on an apprentice, also took on the role of parent. Yeah, moral guidance. An apprenticeship was not usually paid, but, food and board, room and board, clothing. Came apprentices in the early teens, but some as young as 7. Long road. Cases of apprentices running away. Rules established the master and the apprentice's father had to spend one day each looking for the missing youth. Time limits of 1 year, after which a master need not take the escapee back. So I guess the situation here is they had to write laws even further formalizing apprenticeships just for protecting people's rights. But I think that's definitely a stage that we're not quite at. We're definitely not at a social stage with these people where, when somebody suggests something new or a solution, and the common thing to do is to try to imagine all the ways it could go wrong or be abused, or all the loopholes. I think that's a level of sophistication we've developed over thousands of years of social development. That sort of meta-awareness we have of things that aren't our specific milieu. Is that the right word? It's a word that I wanted to use more often. Our specific area of expertise. I think because these people are coming from cold, they were not educated about anything regarding governance and social rules. They only had the rules that they developed individually in their own castes and those that the guardians upheld for them. The laws and rules that were handed down to the guardians by the elves, and then the guardians distributed amongst the people, I feel like the elves were quite hands-off with the way that they organized the humans. And it was more about a case of, I don't care how you do it, as long as you produce this much work in this time period. And then if there was any kind of time crunch, then they might say where they might, give incentives for increasing your production levels, your ability to produce that work. In that case, in that way, I suppose the elves were fairly reasonable. So, other than not exactly being able to write their own laws as a society, they certainly had their own rules as individual castes. But we're talking about groups of only a couple hundred people. So in that sense, for 2,000 years, their society was very much a lawless one. Their only laws were do your work. And in a group of a couple of hundred people, would you call it a law to say, get along, don't kill each other, don't become a cannibal, don't beat each other up, or do perverted things that other people think are perverted? I'd hate to have anybody in there. Yeah. So as I was saying, yeah, there's not that level of sophistication in rule making. So things like having a time limit of a year in order where you still have to take the escapee back is those kinds of laws aren't going to exist yet. Maybe in a couple hundred years they might. So length of apprentice depended on trade and master. The benefit of free labor was a temptation to extend the training for as long as possible. That makes loads of sense, but around 7 years seems to have been the average. A cook's apprentice might only need 2 years. A metal worker like a goldsmith might have needed 10 years. And then they were able to set themselves up with their own businesses. An apprentice usually qualified by producing a masterpiece, which showed off his acquired skills. Earning the title of master cost money. Besides skill, though, and a qualified apprentice who could not afford their own place of business was known as a journeyman as they traveled around and found work. So not necessarily like an authority that said, here's a ribbon, you're now a master. It was more of, you were a journeyman until you had enough money to form your own place of business. That makes sense. Medieval guilds. Once their own business was up and running from the 12th century, master tradesmen became members of guilds. Okay, so you set up your business, you join the guild, which means, again, that it's that, what do you call it? Not aristocratic. I'm forgetting my forms of government again. Where basically you don't have access to the decision-making processes that affect your life until after you've reached a certain degree of authority. And in this case, purely capitalistic authority. Having enough money to build your own place of business allowed you to become a member of the guild, which then represented your occupation in government and made sets of rules of its own. So it heavily influenced how the master taught apprentices, how you learned in the first place, and how the future generations will learn. Okay, so the organization is managed by a core group of seasoned professionals known as guild masters. Sought to protect the working conditions of their members, ensuring their products were to a high standard and outside competition was minimized. Sure. Inspections ensured to some degree goods were exactly what they were advertised. Regulation measurements and weights, correct prices, fair competition, regulation on apprenticeships, regulation of labor supply, limits on how many masters there could be at a time. Yep, stable economy. Yeah, I mean, those are all great things that a guild can do. Are we at a point where anybody has tried to organize that kind of thing? No, I think any one place at this point only has a couple of masters. I don't think that 25 years on. Okay, maybe let's do some math here. Let's do some maths. Maths. I'm gonna get out my handy dandy spreadsheet. Here we go. Yeah. There we go. Oh, I don't like that, but can I do this? Yes, I know. There, that's alright. And stretch the page out to be all tidy. There we go. Okay. Right. Let's see. Let's do some maths. Right. So, first flight year was do I actually say second market square talks were 25? Oh, I don't actually have a date for when the first flight. Oh no, here it is. First flight sent to establish the 8 lorddoms. Yeah, okay, so that was in 25 SE, and our current day is 47 SE. Yeah. Okay, so start is 25 and today is 47. I'll call this first flight actually. And so what would we have when this happens? We have what we had at the Exodus. I'll call this Exodus. What we had at the Exodus was we have very masters. Hey Heather. Oh yeah, it's been so rainy, especially with that storm coming up. I'm surprised we got so much notice of the storm and slightly worried that it's going to change and it's going to end up being on top of us instead of on top of other people further north. Time of year for it. So what we're talking about, by the way, is where am I at? Flooding. Gosh, yeah. We are in the Life in the World section of the Player's Guide. We've been talking about, thus far talked about the aptitudes, which is how people learn what they're potentially good at, which is a requirement for joining an apprenticeship when you have a highly, when you want to be doing an occupation that requires a great deal of skill. Sort of off to the side of this is something called the exchanges, where a part of your contract with the first flight meant that you are obligated to teach people your craft for free in one of these exchange buildings. And so lots of people go to this all the time to learn other people's trades and see what they're interested in, and new things. Any new information that comes generally ends up in the exchange at one point or another. So we're looking at apprenticeships at the moment, and I think that I'm a little bit worried that there's not enough said thus far about apprenticeships. But the thing is because the concept of the apprenticeship is so well known, it's very likely that we shouldn't really say anything other than how an apprenticeship is different. An apprenticeship in Kinde is different to what we think of as an apprenticeship. And so I've been reading about this here in the ancient history website. So then I started thinking, okay, well, what stage are we at in the development of apprenticeships? So today, the day the game is supposed to start is the year 47. The year the first flight left was the year 25. And the Exodus being the year, we'll put 0 here. And we're trying to figure out how this is developed. You know, a couple of 100 years from today, we're likely to have had several laws written in order to protect the rights of everyone involved in the what do you call it? The sort of knowledge economy of occupations. But we're not there yet for sure. So, at the time of the Exodus, we had masters of narrow fields. They had one job, carving the heads of hammers, and that's literally all they did every day, day in and day out. You know, maybe there was another cast that glued the heads of the hammer to the handle of the hammer. That might be being a little bit too narrow, but if that gives you a sense of what I'm talking about there. So we have masters of narrow fields, and hang on, we're grabbing. There we go. Okay, so 25 years after that, how would these masters have developed? I think we'll just call this one masters, experts, learners. Yeah. And what's the step below learners? Aspirants. What a funny word. Okay. Why has it done that? I don't know. Some of these defaults on Excel have always confused me a little bit. So we have masters of narrow fields in year 0. See, what is it? 12 is the normal one? No. What's row height here? 15. Okay, Masters of Narrow Fields. At the time of the 25, we've got 25 years is definitely enough time to become a master of, well, we were saying 7 years apprenticeship plus however long it takes them to build up the money, or I guess in this case, since we're not dealing with money, we're talking about equipment, tools in general, what literal or figurative. So say we add another 5 years on top of that. I mean, you could learn at least 3 traditional areas of apprenticeship in 25 years. And again, where the casts areas are much more narrow than like a specific master of the medieval era would know. So the question really that we're trying to find out is, could what was considered a master at the time of the Exodus become the equivalent of a medieval master at the point of the first flight? And I think the answer to that is going to be yes. Masters, call it medieval equivs. We'll say of narrow fields here. So we have medieval parallel masters at the time of the first flight. So, and then we've got 22 years here. And that is how many apprenticeships? That is 3 apprenticeships. So we've got narrow fields, medieval. No, never mind. I was gonna just. Okay. Actually, we'll say medieval masters. Yeah, that makes more sense, because they would have evolved to that point. Ugh, row heights. And so learners, actually we need to call this apprentices. So narrow, and again in this time these apprentices would be medieval masters. And then here uneducated. And then in 25 years, would those uneducated aspirants have become masters? Yes, I think so. Based on what we've been dealing with here. Okay. So a whole generation of young children have become medieval equivalent masters by the time of the first flight. So then we run into issues of, well, how many people are there? And we've got 8 cities, 8 towns. And based on the numbers that I came up with Nillenhold, we're talking about 200-300 people in each one. So we're well over 1,500 people in the first flight. And then we're, how many people are left in Mimini City? It's going to be at least as many as are in each town. So a couple of thousand people. And I think the problem is that there's just not enough people to afford to have that many masters in the world. I don't think that every field of occupation is going to have a master in every town. So, for instance, the only shipbuilding master is the one in Nillenhold. Yeah. And then there is an obligation for the assessors, the aptitude assessors. This needs to go in here. Obligation for assessors to spread out the aptitudes. Because otherwise you end up with a bunch of people who want to do whatever the popular faddish occupation is at that time, and nobody wants to do the really essential thing. So that all occupations are occupied. So what the assessment committees will do is they will say, okay, well, we've just given out a bunch of aptitudes for this particular field. We know that this person is going to be good at something like this, or fairly good at something like this. There may be times where they need to think more in terms of the economy than in the individual's specific potential. So potential of economy rather than the potential of the individual. And they'll say, okay, well, I know that this guy is going to be really excellent at stone carving, but we have a bunch of stone carvers. We don't really need more stone carvers right now. But what we do need is wood carvers. So he's maybe not going to be as good at wood carving as he would have been at stone carving, but definitely good enough that, okay, this is what I'm going to tell this person that they should do. And I think it's more of sort of like a meeting, a negotiation. That's a good point to make. Results of aptitudes are more of a negotiation, and with an outcome of Rex and potential certificate. So you have this meeting and you say, and the assessors say, right, okay, how did you feel about the things that you did? What did you like? And we noticed that you did particularly well at this, and maybe let's talk a little bit about your weaknesses, and they'll come to sort of a conclusion on what are some of the best choices for the young person. Bad at spelling sometimes. And then they will together decide, okay, this is the career that we're going to push you towards, and it's generally going to be something that they're okay with, that the assessed person is okay with, and then they'll be given an opportunity to think about whether or not they want to take on an to become an apprentice, in which case all they have to do is ask the committee, I want to become an apprentice in this particular occupation, can you please write me a certificate? And that's what they do. Yep. Okay. So going back to here, so we've got all of these people who existed before in the Exodus who have become medieval masters. So these are the people who were live in the occupation. So we've got, in how many years? 47 years. Let's say we'll have 2 generations. This is the first generation born after the Exodus. And so we'll say aspirants. And then let's break this up into 7-year chunks. So we'll say 32 and 39 and 42. No, that's not right. 46. Okay. I know what we're going to do here. Insert. And 1, 0, 7, 14, 21. And let's delete these columns. Okay. So no. Right, I'm going to put it here. I'd say, you know what, I'm gonna remove it there because I feel like it probably would have taken a lot longer. Maybe even this long. For those people to become the equivalent of medieval masters simply because of disorganization issues and not knowing what they wanted. So I think that it was the kingdom, the organization of the kingdom, which if we go back to our timeline, was in the year 1. Yeah. It was in the year 1. That prompted all of this social development that happens in this period here. And occupation would have taken some time for people to build the infrastructure, really. So then we've got experts who were alive during the Exodus. So experts of narrow fields in the year 0. Could they have, I think they could also have developed that at the same time. People who were apprentices at that time. I feel like, no, maybe... Oh, this is almost exactly the same. Sorry, I'm realizing that. All right, what I'm going to do... We're just going to make this multiples of 7, so 28 and 35 and 42 and 47. Oh, no, we'll just delete this one. There we go. Okay, so that's what I was sort of thinking there. Okay. And then then I think these two groups of people would have taken slightly longer. And then, yeah, okay. And then these people who were not born here will say, born. Ugh. Immersion Center. And then born. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna gray you out. Sorry, this is me getting super visual with my spreadsheets here. Hey Prue! What you cooking? Okie dokie. So then we would have this second generation is aspirants today. And so apprentices in this set of time and experts in this set of time and masters in this set of time. So just thinking about how many generations of people would have managed to become masters. Oh, and the other thing we need to think about is, of course, age and death, because we'll be losing some of these top tier masters. So I wonder if there's a comment in here about the age of masters. Women in the trades, very few guilds for or managed by women. Most apprentices were male as their masters. Significant minority involved in some trades. Widows prominent in trades without a close male relative and remain single, run their deceased husband's business. That makes a lot of sense. Restrictions, they weren't able to train any apprentices themselves. Some trades didn't permit women at all. And some trades like silk production and veil makers were dominated by women. Miller. Each castle or manor had its own mill. Strikes. Yeah, I think this is going on about how millers in particular were tended to be quite unassociated, but have quite high status. Okay, we're going to specific professions here. Booker, baker, butcher, weaver, builders, traders, medical practitioners. Okay, nothing about age in here, I don't think. Okay, so we're just going to make some generalizations here. We're going to say that most people in Kinde are going to be passing away at the delicate age of 50 to 60. Sort of the medieval equivalent there, I think. We're not dealing so much with quite a lot of disease, but we are dealing with health concerns out of lack of education and access. So access to healthcare and that sort of thing. I suppose that's one thing that they probably would have had very little access to in the caste wards, is sophisticated healthcare that the elves may or may not have had, because they also weren't allowed magic. So if you're going to pass away at, we'll say 55, it takes 7 years to become the potential to become an expert, and say another 7 years to become a master. that's 14 years on top of how old you were when you became an apprentice, and let's say you're 12. Let's say, just because we're dealing with multiples of 7, let's say you're 14. So that's 28 years then to become a master, which only leaves you with 27 more years to live. It's a grand subject to sound clinical about. So becoming a master, and then you add 27 onto that. So 14 and 27, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so deceased. I'd even say this earlier generation, who was master already, actually, is there, deceased. Merge and center, and yeah. Actually, no, that doesn't need to be margin center, does it? So we'd actually put it here. And this gray representing, this gray fill representing years of irrelevance. Yeah, okay, that's right. So our experts, what we are just going to what's the word I'm looking for? Cascade this. So that means that at any given time we've got 1, 2, 3 generations of masters. 1, 2, 3, 1, wait. Oh, that's an interesting, oh, how did that work out? Okay. Yeah, I think we've got our scale off here slightly. Remove that, and we've got started here. Yep. And so 1, 2, there. And apprentices. Okay. These aren't separate. This is kind of I'm not liking the scale of this because technically we're talking about 7-year differences between here. In which case it's not giving me a very accurate visual here. Okay. So we're going to talk about generations in term of education rather than like social generations, just so that we can actually get a better visual representation of what's going on here. No. And let's see. Boop. And sorry, bear with me while I cascade this. There we go. Nope, that wasn't right. Oh, no. Copy and paste. That's better. That's got it. Okay. So what I'm seeing here is that you don't have very long to live, do you? That for sure. Okay. This is not in the right place either. Hang on. There we go. We're just gonna delete these and remove their fill and remove the fill here. Oh, and delete it. Okay, this is better. So that means then that we have 3 generations. So a spread of 21 years worth of learning of masters alive at any given time. We had a little bit of a bubble here in the first years post-Exodus, because we had people who were masters and experts of very narrow fields learning broader things, and then eventually everyone, so around this point is when people started to be taught broader things, and thus going directly from expert into medieval master level. It's just interesting to look at this kind of stuff. So if we're talking of a population of, say, 2,000, have I got the right number of zeros? Yeah, I have now. And not all of that population is going to, oh, sorry, Torch. Let's see. Boop, boop, boop. Is it better? I hope that's better, because it's about as far as I can go. These are the crazy depths that I go to when trying to figure out the practicality of certain things. I will do spreadsheets and number games, and I have another document that's a similar sort of weird deep dive like this. Question of how many people are in Nillenhold, doing a bunch of research about like how many people does it take, what % of a population needs to be farming, that kind of stuff. So this is a similar sort of thing, trying to figure out what kind of masters and people are alive right now today in the world of Kinde. So there would be yeah. There's definitely gonna be some really interesting dice probabilities. I'm trying to think of whether or not this has really actually enlightened me in any way, and it might not have. Okay. So the question is, what percentage of a population would be in or aspiring to an occupation that was so highly skilled that apprenticeships are required? Let's see if this 50 people. This is talking about dry docks, Galadom, and building the keep, and how many guardians were necessary, and how many hunters and fishers and farmers, and then services. So if this represents our skilled population, where was my total number? 25, 50, 165, 100, 175. What is that? 275, 3, 4, 3, 440, 490, 515. 515 people, and that's a lot more than I had quoted earlier. So 500 odd people in Millenhold in order for it to operate at the level that it operates in the present day. And if 100, actually no, this whole 275 here is our skilled plus some other skilled people. So may say another 25. So 300 of those 500 people. So we're talking 60% of the population is skilled workers. So 60% of those people are going to be going through apprenticeships, and each town is going to have its specialties. So, for instance, say you have a knack for deducing the purpose of ancient artifacts, you're going to end up getting sent to New Defiance to do your work. Even if you're from Millenhold, it doesn't matter where you're from, that kind of work just doesn't exist in Millenhold. Somebody in Hedgehog is really good at a combination of structural engineering and wood. They're going to end up getting sent to Millenhold to work on shipbuilding. So we're not thinking in terms of there being a wide spread of skills in any one place, but it's still going to be around the same percentages. Yeah, it's still going to be around the same percentages. So 2,000 people, 60% skilled workers. Stupid line heights. And so that is 600 times 2, that's 1,200. 1,200 people all told. It's a huge amount of the population. And now we've been stuck in this for so long that I'm struggling to remember why I went on this deep dive in the first place. Heather, are you listening? Help me. Okay, why aren't people practicing their specialties in their hometown? That's because their hometown didn't exist before the elves left. Their hometown at the point of the Exodus is Mimini City, and the elves left, and the Humans then decided to form their own social systems and their own governments, and it took them about 25 years to settle on something that was more or less stable, and also to decide not to stay in Mimini City. So they, as a group, formed what's called the First Flight and separated out into 8 pre-designated regions of the world, of their local area of the world. Anyway, let me pull up a map for you. There we go. And then they so the First Flight left and they went to these 8 towns. They formed these towns, and so they don't all practice different things in a single town, because each town had a theme, a specific thing that it was there to do for society as a whole. Let's move this up. Over up. So Nillenhold does shipbuilding, and Bridge End is trying to build a bridge. Yeah, no, that's okay. That's fine. And Kinsmeat works on farming. New Defiance, archaeology. Hartford is that's actually a really good question. I suppose river travel, transportation, those kinds of things. That's their specialty. Oh, right, art. That's what it was. They're intending to work on art and those other things, transportation. Rest is about what was it? Taking it's next to an elven ziggurat. So they're trying to glean as much as they can from elven knowledge in order to add to their own society. Nillenhold is on the shore. It's right here. Also, hello. Welcome to the stream. I don't think that we've met before. And so Ventureholm is the city that is for further distance travel. Their intent is to make contact with the people of Odevian. And Hedgehog is the town of magicians. Oh yeah, I'm sorry about that. I don't actually know how to control where the captions go. I think that's a Twitch only thing, unfortunately. Can you tell me how much of the screen that they take up? Like, how tall is it percentage wise? Oh, that's too much. Because maybe I can put some effort into keeping things above that line if you let me know. Yeah, no, that'll just have the same effect. Oh, I can move though if it's slightly. Nope, never mind. This is not going to be terribly easy. Yes. So I think that answers your question, Torch. And so let's go back to life in the world. And from the shipyard city all the way down to the point where the shore goes up. Okay. All right. So we're looking at, I don't know, a sixth of the screen. Okay. But this point here, then, where my... Oh, I don't have my control thing on this computer now. I need to sort that out. All right. Thank you for that very much, Brain Torn Out. Okay. Good to know. All right. Existed during the occupation in an informal way. Right. So the question then, what I think one of the things I was trying to sort out here was how is apprenticeship in Kinde different to what we know of as medieval apprenticeships? That's our real world understanding of it. And if we had developed some of the rules and laws significant to medieval apprenticeships, if we had ever gotten into that point of developing those rules and laws. And I think at this point, with the number of people that we're talking about spread throughout 9 places, I just don't think that there's enough people to have encountered enough problems to have developed the systems of like guilds and laws defending rights of skilled workers and apprenticeships and stuff. We're definitely not there yet. I think as with many other things today, this part of the reason that this time period is significant, this place where we're starting the campaign, as it were, is because all of these problems are starting to come up. We're first starting to see adventurers. We're first starting to see a lot of conflict that we expect in our own society, we expect in a medieval society, but to these people is completely brand new. So it's very Wild West. Usually only a bigger cities of 8,000 people at the very least. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. None of this stuff is big enough. I don't even refer to any of these places except for Mimini City as a city, because Mimini City could probably actually accommodate that many people. But that's not how many people who live there right now. Right now, we're talking about only a few hundred people. Because the majority of the population there were actually elves, and the elves are now gone. And so we have a large portion of the city that's burnt out, and contraceptives notwithstanding, it's 47 years is not enough time to have bred quite that much. Especially given that, again, one of the major themes of this setting is trauma, and these people are all dealing with different reactions to the trauma that they experienced as a subjugated people, as essentially slaves to the elven race. So they're not necessarily going to be all that into breeding. I suppose that is an interesting thing to maybe take up as another deep dive on another time. Is I'm going to go to this page, and we're going to go to problems to solve and reproductive rates in regards to reactions to trauma. Yeah. That makes sense. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. You're talking about birth rates in the medieval era, is that right? Okay. Yeah. Really, did it? You're not talking about population growth. You're talking about birth rates spiked in the industrial era? Interesting. Because it's always been my understanding that birth rates were higher when you needed more people to get the same amount of stuff done. So that would have been pre-industrial. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I get you. Okie doke. So I guess the conclusion to all of that is to say, no, we probably don't need to say anything more about apprenticeship. So half an hour, just to decide what we pretty much already know. But that's what this is for. That's the fun of world building, to be honest. That's where you get to geek out and pull out your spreadsheets and stuff. Senator moved the 18th century lowered birth rates by half, but we spiked that. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Makes loads of sense. We found just new ways to kill ourselves with all that coal and heavy machinery and child labor. Okay, I think we're pretty much done with the education section here, and given the time, I think that I'm going to call it for now. But thank you everyone for coming, and I've got a couple of things going on and in the works right now with the channel. I am going to be moving back to weekly again soon. I don't know exactly when soon. Things are still kind of a bit up in the air. My sister's having a very troubled pregnancy, and so I'm under a lot of stress, just kind of sitting by the phone waiting for phone calls and checking up on her and sending her things because she lives in another country. But soon enough, I'm going to get back to weekly again. And then I have a special thing coming up starting probably next weekend, in which I'm not going to say anything about it yet until the person who's organizing the thing is talking about it. But I will say that in preparation for this thing, I am learning a Cockney accent. So working on that. That's going to be fun. And what else? I have a new series that I am sort of developing right now, and I'm just starting to work that out, the details of that. And I guess that's another thing that I really don't want to say anything about specifically without I don't know what you're talking about, Torch. Just I don't want to jinx myself and then not end up doing it, because this is entirely my project and I get really nervous about these sorts of things. So that is in the works. A new series for this channel. And then I have other ideas and other things that that I want to be working on, and will hopefully just end up happening one day. Magic. Through no effort of my own, I'm sure. Also, I need to buy a new stinking chair. If you missed that bit, my chair broke. I need a new chair. 5 minutes before the stream started, I literally already turned on the stream on the countdown page and leg went out from under me, and I had to call my partner in order to get help out of the chair. And in his delightful way, he was great. He was really great at helping me up. And then he did his typical thing of going, now, how do we fix this problem? I'm like, honey, I love you, but I have a stream that's already on. Go away. We'll fix it later. Yeah. Fun stuff going on. Buy some cashmere socks, because that's what's good. Actually, I don't think y'all were there when I was talking about my cashmere socks. Can I do a bendy thing? Hang on. Cashmere socks, they're the best. Get some. Yeah, I did a bendy thing, barely. Yeah. What's good with you? What's good with you all? I'm into the cashmere socks and the jumper. I pulled out one of my winter jumpers. How about you? Tell me what's good before we sign off. quite the delay today. Yeah. I mean, that's obvious. What's good with you personally, Heather? Come on. Fisherman chic. Yes. I love it. I dig it. Absolutely. I can totally see that working for you as well, Torch. Puzzles? What puzzles? Like jigsaw puzzles? Have you been doing those? For all of you that don't know, Heather is my neighbor, and I have a Minecraft realm that I invited Heather to, and it's the first time she's ever played Minecraft, and so she's wandering around getting into all sorts of trouble, getting exploded by creepers, and calling me up and going, "What just happened?" And it's been great fun watching her go through all of that stuff. Have you made it back to your house yet at all? I did see your house and the fireplace. Your house is so weird. It's very... Do you know what? It reminds me of the house on the rock for some weird reason. So you did get back to your house ever since your panda hunting. The Hieronymus game that Lori from... Oh, okay. We, so Torch and I are on, a Discord together. It is titled the UK and IR ttrpg's Discord. And, it is a absolutely great place that isn't specifically have to be for people who are from the UK and Ireland. It can also be for anybody in that GMT time zone and in nearby time zones. Basically, it's meant to be a place for people sort of sent around this particular time zone to gather and talk and play. And there are so many creators on there. It's absolutely brilliant. Lori, is it O'Connell or just Connell? She is one of them. Oh, why is my... There we go. Okay, my keyboard keeps going back to US. O'Connell. Yeah, Lori O'Connell is a designer. She's on itch. Let me... itch.io Lori. I don't know if I can actually get up her itch page. 2 L's, I think. Oh, nice. Making a review. You had to say it about... yeah, okay. So definitely know what you're talking about then. Sorry, I don't think I have quite the access to it at the moment that I can very easily find her itch page. Oh, that's the resources. That's not the... Yeah, okay. Oh, here we go. Ha! I got it. I got it. This is the game that Torch is talking about, Hieronymus. She wrote this for the jam, didn't she? The art prompt. What is that? I don't. This is new stuff to me. I mean, I hope to eventually be writing stuff like this. Gosh, that page is very handsome. She's done a very good job with that page. Yeah, the art game jam. So apparently, a jam is a thing where there's a theme with a deadline, and creators, designers go out and they make indie games according to that theme, and then it becomes like a collection at the end of the time of the jam. which is very exciting. There's another thing going on this month that's a zines. It's called Zine Quest. It's specifically TTRPG zines. I'm gonna put this here. Let's see if we can Google some of this stuff and get you some links. So, Art Game Jam. Here we go. Oh, it's over. What? That was last year. Is this the right one? Huh. I don't think that's right. Oops. Come on. Ugh. Do you know what I'm talking about, Torch? Where I find this particular game jam? No. Okay, we'll try Zine Quest 3, if I can find a page for that. Bitch Game Jam. Oh. Oh my goodness, look at that. Gosh. So there's a lot of them going on. Look at that. OST, Indie Apocalypse, Flat Game, Bagel, Weekly. Dang. Godot. Can I look backwards? I can look backwards. Oh, that's a very handsome bit of programming there. I don't see anything about art on here, but this is clearly the page to look at for that sort of thing. Okay, Zine Quest 3. Is there a single page for... Oh, there's a Zine Quest 3 jam. Collection. Is there any way... No. So the Zine Quest thing is essentially you're meant to make a TTRPG related zine and then publish it on a Kickstarter during the month of January, I think. And it's a Kickstarter thing. Not seeing any links. Wait. No, it's someone's specific link. Zine Quest 2. Yeah. Okay, here it is. This is the thing. And people will put up their zines on Kickstarter and then you can buy them and they will get sent out to you. And this is the thing that I would really, really love to do as well, because I love zines and I love TTRPGs, and that's two things that I love all in one. What I don't love is trying to figure out how Kickstarter works. And how to actually get people to buy my stuff. I don't think I'm ready for that place yet. I might be next year, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Do some interesting world building stuff on there. Oh, I don't know any regular ones. I don't know enough about it. I think I love zines as a general category, so most of the ones that I've read are political and art based, not TTRPGs. I have always been vaguely aware that TTRPGs were a strong category of zines, at least in the States, going back decades. But it's because it took me such a long time to actually break into the TTRPG world. I was one of those people who always should have been playing tabletop role-playing games, but for whatever god-awful reason, couldn't find people to play with. I had false starts with groups that just never continued after like the second or third session. And it was only, 3-4 years ago that I was actually able to start really playing TTRPGs. So those are those are just the kind of things that I was not able to get into, unfortunately. But we're getting there. I like that we're having this resurgence of zines, because I'm sure that they've died out in the TTRPG category, that is, and it'd be nice to have them come back. And this is the third Zine Quest. So that is a good sign. Lots of things are coming up on the server, people posting their Kickstarters and talking about their zine ideas and their game jams and the games that they're making and the streams that they're streaming and all the actual plays and stuff. It's a really lively place, so I strongly recommend that you try out the server. We need to build a strong world building community there. That needs to develop more, please and thank you, and for it to not be all D&D related, that would be excellent. Anyway, I think I'm gonna sign off now. Thank you all for being there, really appreciate it. Oh yeah, by the way, that is where I met Torch, who is also a creator on YouTube. Torch, link your stuff please for everybody. As always, if you have any tips for things that I'm doing but better, I'm always trying to improve this channel, let me know. You can tweet me on the Twitter at Tempest TT Games, same as this channel. Twitter, I'm gonna type this out, twitter.com/Tempest TT Games. Thank you very kindly, Torch. I hope everyone goes and watches his videos. He's got a really fun Blade in the Dark actual play going on right now that I need to listen to more of, because both Torch and one of the other players are doing some good old proper Cockney accents. And speaking of which, if you have recommendations, please, dear God, somebody recommend me something that isn't a gangster film that has strong Cockney accents in, and not just one Cockney accent, but lots of them. A lot of stuff that's about London these days has a wide range of accents, which is, I mean, intending to be representational, which is fabulous, but I just want to hear a Cockney accent. Also, people of marginalized genders doing Cockney accents, that would be fabulous as well. That would be really great, because everything else I've seen, again, is pretty much all gangster films, but also pretty much all cis men doing Cockney accents, which I'm not sure. I mean, I could definitely attempt to impersonate Jason Statham, but I don't think it would really hit off well, not as a character. So yeah, exactly, that's mostly what it is. So if you know of anything that's not a gangster film or about cis white men, well, I mean, the white I can give or take, but about cis men, I would just love it. Absolutely love it. That would be great. Anyway, you all have a wonderful night, and I will see you in a couple weeks, or on that Discord server I was telling you about. Talk to you later. Bye.